a castle. Or if you move into a new place and you don't feel comfortable yet because you didn't put up enough pictures, etc. And as I say, it's not my dirt yet. We're getting acquainted with this. Places are spaces with felt value, culture, and identity. What else would we plan is, well, all these wonderful reasons. In some states, it's actually the law.
You post this thing online?
I can give some slides, yeah, not all of them.
Just wondering if I should take full notes.
I do encourage you to take notes. I rather see you type notes on your laptop than surfing the internet and doing Facebook stuff. I can post a few slides, yeah. I will not post all of them. I usually quit all the pictures. I give you more the text. Yeah. Click, click, click.
This thing is amazing.
Click, 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 click. All right. So one of the important things we have to keep in mind is why we plan is it's the law. Certain municipalities, certain states require planning for the municipality. Yeah. Comprehensive plan is one buzzword. I keep saying this is like the umbrella. Even in a state where a comprehensive plan is not mandatory, comprehensive planning is not mandatory, cities will do the comprehensive plan because other regulations and funding bodies require one. And it's a neat way to do because it is a vision statement and the operationalization, aka your business plan, how to build your community and run your community in the next 10, 15 to 25 years. It's usually about 20 years out-ish, a generation, with revisions every other 5 to 10 years. And the reason why you want to do that is because you want to control and guide growth in your community, or decline. Big, huge issue, Detroit. Shrinking cities is the buzzword for that. East Germany. What do you do with the high rises? Nobody wants to live in there anymore. Boom, you roll it up and create green spaces and refit the rest of the buildings. And now it's it's more like an interesting neighborhood, not really a vibrant one. Again, it's the law in some of the places. I worked in states where they're really particular about it, where you can't get your subdivision approved unless state planning director is giving a nudge on it, versus, oh, let's do this, and don't care about it. I literally have seen private people asking for a landing strip on their farm, and there was no planning regulation against them for it. Just people saying, well, you're in a no-fly zone anyways from the airport, why would you have a landing strip? Because they didn't want to drive the 5 miles down to the airport for their Cessna. Like land, have lunch with family, and disappear again.
They have it in Wellington though. They don't,
Oh, Wellington is different. Wellington is different. It's like, if you tell me you have 5 horses in Wellington, you need to Google your net worth. I will know it by the numbers of horses in Wellington. It's also interesting because I actually have a friend who did the comprehensive plan workshop for Wellington. Right. Why we plan? That's something, okay, fine, guide decision-making processes and investment in RED. Who plans? Well, an urban planner. Maybe a regional planner. Oh, civil engineer. Okay, who else? Who is involved in the plan? Who are the stakeholders and people involved in the planning?
Architects. The community.
Okay, architects, community. Developers.
You.
Investors. What else? Government entities. Not bad. We kind of forgot the landowners a little bit, but I guess you put that into the community. The natural environment and its fellows, for sure. Community groups is a huge piece. Excuse me. Resident landowners. Fundamental role. I can post these. It's like I'm slightly irritated with taking pictures all the time. I can post selected slides. I had a student actually videotaping me once. Different class setup, not this one. Different class setup. This was actually an undergraduate class, Introduction to Urban Planning through SimCity, playing the computer game SimCity. Third session, shows up in the third session. Yeah? Has not installed the software at all on the computer, and basically runs a FaceTime video thing on me. I'm like, okay, you stop this or you get out. So, irritates me because I don't know if you're taking a picture of me because I'm so mean or is it because you learned that you're here. So, alright. Who plans? This runs down the who, what, when, and where, and for whom. This is, I think, next. For whom do we plan?
That
For
depends.
Civilization.
Community civilization.
Future.
Business development.
Ooh, future. Yeah? For home, for whom?
For the stakeholders.
For stakeholders, yeah. If I'm an investor or a company with a bunch of partners, for sure I want to make sure that I'm actually get the bottom line I need. So for whom? It depends on your vision and your mission. Yeah? Because if I am a for-profit organization, am I going to take on non-profit organizational work? Yeah, maybe, as a pro bono, because my expertise and my reputation is good, so I will help them, but it's not necessarily my business concept. For whom, that depends also, who are you? You have all over the place clientele because you are actually a private company. Yeah? So that's different than me being a former city planner. My planning was for residents of my community and its visitors and families to come visit, and the future residents. So that was a really smart one. It's almost like this whole sustainability thing. Remember back in the days when we talked about sustainability? Brundtland Report 1986, named by the Swedish Prime Minister Brundtland. The United Nations actually forms that document, how is it called?
Say it again.
Brundtland Report. Our Next Future. It's a big book about how sustainable development and sustainability for the next future generations will change and has to change mindset of our generations. The most prominent proponent for that kind of thinking for resources for future generations is Al Gore and his climate change arguments. Yeah? I'm not going into that direction, but this is a big thing on the planning world because we're planning resources, not just the natural resources, but also other community resources for our current and future residents. That starts with the simple idea of what type of demographics I have right now. What is my age group in my neighborhood? Depending on the age group in my neighborhood, do I need assisted living or a kindergarten in the next 10 years? No? If you have a community, single family homes, and you have 80% couples between 25 and 35, kindergarten and playground sounds better than assisted living and hangout places for senior citizens. I know they are called differently, hangout places, but yeah. So we got to do this. We did this actually a GS project back in Cincinnati for my class. You got a neighborhood and you had to run all analytical, the wrong way of talking, analytics, and then you had to make the judgment call in your proposal, assisted living or kindergarten or alternative. Also, every semester was different for some fun, I don't know why. But for whom is important? Is it your company or is it your client you're planning for? Or is it your client's interest within the community? Keep that in mind. When we talk about site planning here, we're not just talking about the physical appearance and the changes we do towards the site. Because Lynch says the site disturbs the plan. The plan disturbs the site. It's one of his big quotes. Yeah? So for whom, what, who, and for whom is the important part. This will come back later. In terms of site planning, this is part of the first chapter. A plan disturbs the site, page 6, yeah? Talks about the human needs in the plan, and privacy versus neighborhoodliness. I know my neighbors. I don't know the neighbors upstairs. I hear them, but I know the 2 or 3 neighbors around it. I also know the neighbor 5 houses down the street whose remote set control clicker on the garage triggers mine. Yeah? But again, there's different disturbance. But it's difference between privacy or not. Question to the class. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Who rents out an apartment? Do you know your immediate neighbors to the left and to the right? All right. You're living more than just 2 weeks there, don't you? All right, good. Who owns a house? All right. Do you know your neighbors to the left and to the right? Have you met the neighbors across the street, the 2 houses or 3 houses across the street?
Yes.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Do you bring them cookies?
So I give them different stuff.
All right. Check this with your friends. Apartment living, 2 or 3, maybe you know the person across the hallway and 2 or 3 people to the left and to the right. Yeah? Because you run into them randomly at the mailbox or when the door opens. Yeah? That's about it. Folks that know more than to the left and to the right or the back or the 2 or 3 houses across the street,
Called nosy.
no,
Nosy
got kids and a cool neighborhood.
people.
Kids, or involved kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. At a certain age, the whole neighborhood knows that, this 10-year-old is the troublemaker down there. Huh?
Not my kids.
In my case, it was 3,000 people when I was that age. All right, so art of site planning. And I try to reflect this kind of scale here with issues of scale versus the vision. I kept talking about it versus detailed site plan. Martin Luther King, when he said, "I have a dream," did not sketch out how African Americans need to sit or allocate in a specific school layout or whatever we're doing about this. This was the general principle, how culture and identity in the society is being transformed. Yeah? Versus, I want to build 100 apartments, yeah, for mid-level income groups. I'm definitely more that here than to the change in the national society, or global society. Yeah? So the issue of scale is important. Some of you guys said something about the 30,000 foot perspective during the introductions. Shares, I think it was. Yeah? We're bouncing permanently in this class between the 30,000 foot and the 100 foot and hovering over what's going on the site itself. Yeah? The 30,000 foot, it doesn't matter if someone believes the spirit of the site was disturbed. Yeah? Profit and community profile. Down here, yeah, a little bit more important. Particularly more important if you work on a Superfund site or brownfield. Yeah? When your apartment complex was built on a former shipyard, now you actually have arsenic in the ground. And nobody told you about that. How do you deal with this? Yeah? Wilmington, Delaware had some issues with that. Yeah? All right. If the plan disturbs the site, yeah, your vision, your operations, and your mission to transform that site is changing it. Therefore, again, we create places that are spaces with felt value, culture, and identity. Might want to write that down.
Repeat.
It's coming. It's coming. All right. So the important part here is site planning about issues of scale. It's a small comic I had in grad school. So forgive me that I do not know the original source, but it's at least signed. Consider how convenient this location is. You're only 36 miles from Washington, 71 miles from Richmond, and 24 miles from the regional mall. Which region? And then here's the guys, hey Fred, there's a tree you missed. That description could be here without the playing field. You're 63 miles or minutes away from West Palm, 71 minutes from Key Largo, and just 24 minutes drive time if traffic is fine from the mall. Sounds like your daily routine, huh? Huh? Is that life? Miserable, cul-de-sac layout, cookie cutter format, what we call, is like trying to get the best bang out of the for the buck out of the system. Yeah, like you can see this weird cut here, just to make sure that you have proper front space. Get a setback, put the house on it. Setback as driveway, put the house on it, and you have green grass. Maybe a pool, depending on this.
Zero left.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and certainly maybe not even a fence line. It's just all grass in between. Yeah. Hybrid space, as I call it. However, in terms of scales, it fits the bill. That depending on who you are, you will have to deal with different impacts, different bullet points in this case, on what is important for you as the site planner and also land use planner. Yeah? The planner, landscape, region, city, district, neighborhood, is thinking about this compartmental units in which we squeeze in life. Like, what is a city? First of all, it's an experiment of humans. Yeah? But you also can think it's like a fish tank or a snow globe. Why? Because you have a little bit scenic environment in there, and once in a while you shake it up, and the snow is floating, but that's basically your city. It's a system enclosed where you try to deal with certain things. And it's kind of interesting to see who wrote 15, 20 years ago seminal pieces on urban planning and regional planning, new urbanism, Andres Duani, yeah? Or Richard Florida, the creative class, wrote this really fun book about footloose industries and how awesome they are, and the millennials being all over the place. Last week he basically said, okay, I failed. All my theories from the last 15, 20 years or something like this, I did get it wrong. Yeah? Andres Duani, new urbanism, doing this sustainable thing with planned unit developments, with homes, let's say in the Lancashire, Chester County area in Philadelphia, cheap, $300,000 in the early 2000s, before 2008, cheap, 300. To give you an idea, that house there would have cost you $1 billion. You can't afford that with $50,000 in family income combined, but people did buy it. So the idea to do awesome living versus you can't afford it clashed with society and housing. So the other part, and this is coming here from the planner, landscape, region, district, and neighborhood, this is part of the so-called Transact that is coming from the new urbanist movement, and Emily Town is actually published on this. It's actually from two different examples from her work. One is the American Planning Association show, and then actually part of her book. One in color, one in black and white. But it actually shows this is nature, and then you have more and more density, more and more function, and what else? Lots of concrete and asphalt. Yeah? Now if I look at the special district, like that would be like, say, a shopping mall, it just gives me goosebumps if I look at the vegetation in there. So we will have one of those sessions, chapter 5 or 6, where we actually talk about urban forestry, how important actually trees are in the urban environment.
Roxy.
Roxy?
Oxy or Roxy. The trees.
No, yeah.
I didn't understand that. Roxy then?
For Oxy.
No, yeah. Yes and no. So trees and park systems are called the green lungs of the city. Yeah, they clean the air. Yeah, oxygen, part of photosynthesis, fine. Yeah, but the more important part is the cooling factor. Not just the shade, but the humidity and the part of their breathing. Yeah? I will show you some slides where you can see the tree really nice and cold, and then the really hot concrete building next to it. Yeah? There's a massive amount of water circulated through vegetation in the urban setting, and that actually cools you down. Alright, this is a very quick overview. To give you an impression, this is part of the last 20 years in urban planning people discussed about how do you deal with the suburbia thing, yeah, versus what they call the urban core zone, we call it downtown. Yeah? For a real estate developer, there are certain profit margins and feasibilities in all these zones. Yeah? This is where I go camping, maybe have my cabin. Yeah? This is probably where I have my office. Yeah? And somewhere in between here I will place my products or your specialty in retail. Yeah? So again, something that comes from urban planning theory we can adapt in real estate development and say, okay, how can we use that for us? And that's part of the planning communication process. Because if you sit down with a planner and say, okay, this is my performer, this is my numbers, well, let's actually talk about how we make this space more livable. The planner will look at you like the train was running into the door. If you sit down and argue on a planner's language with the planner how you do your real estate development, lessons learned, project done. Not that easy, but it's easier. Again, worst case scenario is the engineer in a suit with a lawyer in a planning meeting. We never talked about the staff. Because you submitted the papers electronically, then you come back and receive the staff comments, and you come back to publicly defend and listen to veto and pro and con. Don't want to do that. Yeah? Again, plan disturbs the site. This is important. Yeah? And again, creating the places. We did discuss the places already. Will come all over the place. Again and again. Your creative assignment for next week. You are differently creating somewhat a place because you're looking at that space, at that layout, the form, and you're adding components to it, values. Name just color codes. Yeah? You also differentiate site plans by proportion, volume, and density. And I'm not going to go into much detail on this one, but it's part of the following up lectures. Yeah? When we talk about density, we're talking about housing. When we talk about shape, grain, and pattern, everyone looks up. Please, everyone looks up. What's the color of the carpet in this room?
The carpet?
Hmm?
Green.
Green.
It's almost look
Green
up,
with-
right?
Yeah, I said up.
And
So you don't look down to the carpet now. What's the color of the carpet?
Is green with other colors.
Some pattern, yeah. Evan immediately like, down. So, when we talk about grain and pattern and shape, the shape of the room, the shape of the building is of impact. The allocation, the alignment of the building along the side is of impact. For noise and heat. Because the way I rotate the building, I expose the building more or less to the sun. Or along 95 or 595, more or less to noise traffic, caused by traffic. Yeah? So the alignment, we will talk about alignment of building shapes, etc. Grain and pattern is important. If that room would be completely empty, that room will look way more bigger than it is right now. If you align the tables in this room differently, it will look and impact differently. A landscape architecture thing is doing this loser sign. This is the natural idea of checking the base to the height. So if next time you walk down the street or see pictures of streetscape, you do that. If this fits the scale down, like about a block down the street, that's somewhat natural. Yeah? Or you have New York City, where you have a problem sticking out your neck. Yeah? Again, next time I have students doing this in class and show a picture and the students like, I'm like, yes, lessons learned. Do this next time you walk down the street in Las Olas. You will see Las Olas is different than Broward, yeah, or Sunrise. Just in terms of scale and width of the street. It's like, ooh, commercial strip malls. There's something else we can do about that. Yeah? A very important piece is linkages. We're going to do some sketches for that. Linkages as in what are the functions you want to impose on a site. Are you doing just commercial? Are you doing commercial, parking, shopping, residential? And how do they actually create synergies with each other? And based how they interact and depend on each other, therefore you can actually end up in a different physical layout to promote one or the other function on the site. Yeah? The trash bins on a residential development are certainly the least concern in terms of looking awesome. Are they?
No. Isn't everything out?
They're always screened, they're always hidden. Because part of your comprehensive plan and a good site plan is, I don't want to have negative things in my line of sight. So even for McDonald's, the McDonald's trash bins now, the big containers are actually nice, solid brick walls with some pagoda even on top of it, even some green around it if it's a little bit older, so they have nice plants. Oh, completely designed it. Huh? It's not like the gray trash can in front of your own house you carry out every other Thursday. Huh? No, it has a theme. Also the theme now that you don't have single family homes with one mailbox in front of the street. Who changed that? Who changed that to the community mailbox, where you have now 20 mailboxes for all of them with a nice roof over that, maybe even completely shielded depending on which climate and area you live in? Who changed that? Well, who was the person who was responsible for that change? Any idea? Any guesses?
Mailman.
Mailman.
Yeah.
Mailman. In certain communities, it's definitely the mailman. It's also the developers. Because in conjunction or in communication with the mail services, they said, we want to do this really integrated new urbanist neighborhood where you actually enter the house, park the car through the alley, so you just have to walk up in the front, not anymore the driveway. Yeah? And we want to change the design here and there, and then the US Postal Service basically said, what are you going to do with the mailboxes? Ooh, can we place them all together? And the Postal Service basically argues, it's 20 stops less, it's only one stop, open up everything and dump everything in. Site plan approval process, subdivision planning process, includes reviews from community groups and agency services. The US Postal Service usually has to say yay or nay if the layout and the delivery of mail, physical layout of the community, and delivery of mail services is okay or not. Your fire department will give input if the street width and accessibility to the properties will fulfill fire standards, fire code standards, and the personal preferences of your fire department. Yeah? Because they always want to come in with a big super truck. At least in my little town I used to work with. Yeah? So you have to follow these rules. And certain small design changes, because you want to create different environments, have huge impacts. Yeah? Again, US Postal Service, not every stop anymore. They have one central stop, deliver everything at once. You had a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, doesn't it also come from like community, like shareholders as well, individuals in the community who may go to the cities and have these meetings and say this is what we'd like to see happen in our communities, and then the city takes it up and.
I go to those meetings, yeah.
Yeah.
Developers come to those meetings, they listen to that type of commentary.
Right, and then they.
But because we have to be there, don't forget about that. We have to be there because we probably have a point on the agenda we would like to get approved.
That's
I do recommend everyone for your professional career benefits. The community you are working in and living in might be different one. Try to find at least one meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission and one meeting of the City Council. And just absorb what's going on. Not every planning and zoning meeting is the same. Typically it's like a building permit here, or deck permit here, variance here. Sometimes it's larger projects coming in. The biggest project you can think of, based on my career, is Walmart is coming to town. If you have Walmart coming to town, that's going to be fun. the little town I used to work for, and Dave Hart worked for. Just before I got hired, they actually opened up a Walmart regional distribution center. But part of the story is that they actually didn't say it's a distribution center, a huge warehouse, 1,100 square foot, like 1.1 million square foot, I'm sorry. So they didn't say Walmart regional logistics is coming. They said Walmart is coming. They're going to take away our jobs, our mom and pop places will die, blah, blah, blah. Created about 1,000 jobs on different shift systems, but Walmart was coming still. Plan rules for site plan approval, not just 2 or 3 sheets. You guys have seen on the field trip, particularly if you were in Habitat, the whole house was like 20 sheets total. Plumbing, mechanical, electric, architectural drawings. Yeah? So Walmart brought in rolls of plans like this on dollies and filled up like the whole corner. And you have like 1 or 2 people reviewing this. The airport project mentioned from the other class, Henry County has I think 1.5 planners right now for the whole county. It's one of the poorest counties in the state, county with the #1 unemployment rate.
Henry County?
Henry County, up in Clewiston.
Is that the one, the same one with the project, the
That's
thing
the
that you
airport.
guys having going on right now with the airport? Okay.
Yeah.
How many players?
I think 1.5 planning positions. But they have something 460,000 million, and you add up the other surrounding properties, about $500 million investment knocking at the door. How do you plan for that? How do you tell folks in the next 10 years who would like not to develop every piece of land up there? We want to actually have thoughts about that. And private landowners like, hello, I'm getting $1 million bid on this right now, why would I not sell it? Get me out of there. Instead of $9,000 per acre for the sugar cane, I can make 45 the next day per acre. Yeah? And the really extreme cases. Again, getting sidetracked here, but it's important to understand. Planning is not just crunching your numbers and putting numbers in place, talking to the architect, and build the building. This is the impression sometimes students get in real estate classes. This is sometimes when you look at textbooks that everything works fine from 0 to 100. There's no delay, everything is fine. No, it's not. And if one thing you guys learn from this class is that the way you plan for it is not working out. If so, you're lucky. Because you have to change the plan. This is an outlook at what you're actually also talking about in the next few weeks. Density, part of housing and structures. Again, crane and patterns. We include structures and building materials in there. Believe me or not, you will never walk through a mall again without looking to the floor and look where they changed the pattern, because they guide you with the materials on the floor. If you walk the beach, you will realize that there are different patterns in brickstone or blacktop or concrete, because they have different functions and guidance. Yeah? That also means we have different textures and grain and patterns across the theoretical world. I skipped this very fast. You can see here again different scales and levels and how this impacts communities. Again, a hint to the idea of places, that you actually have public policy versus cultural ideas. And you circulate actually regional impacts, and that's the reason why my name is on that one. Spend a few hours thinking this through. You get exposed for 20 minutes or 20 seconds. Yeah? So, when we talk about projects then, we have to ask the idea of placemaking and place branding, if that is actually a form of planning and site-specific development. What is placemaking or place branding? How would you define that? What is Coca-Cola?
Branding.
A brand. If I say Coca-Cola, what are you thinking of?
Black
Can,
Yeah.
dark, cold beverage, probably red can. Yeah? Coca-Cola on Christmas? Polar bear and Coca-Cola truck. So the image is produced with the message of the brand Coca-Cola is in your story, yeah, in your mind. Alright. Placemaking branding, New York City. Go ahead.
I was saying, like, are they referring to like every corner, or Walgreens or CVS is always on a corner? That sort of thing? Like a,
Yeah, going to get there.
Big Ben.
That's in London.
Yeah, but
All right.
place making.
Place marks associated with places. Yeah? Big Ben, London. Yeah?
No,
South Beach,
Party.
party.
Art Deco?
Ah, someone knew. Alright. Why are you saying Art Deco?
Because that's what South Beach is, it's Art Deco architecture. And
It's not
protected by.
not necessarily that they tried to brand it that way, but they pretty much didn't do the
Yeah,
good
no.
story with making that place the way. Yeah. What am I? Nemo, Miami Modern.
Wynwood,
Nemo is not my.
Is that
No, it's
Midtown?
That's Key Biscayne corridor. When you say Art Deco, that's part of the buildings in the historic preservation area. But they're not doing a good job in branding this. Yeah. What is it? New Village? What's it called? New Bay Village?
North
People-
Carolina.
Yeah, people know that a little bit more, because of different lifestyle. Wynwood, what jumps in your head for Wynwood?
Art,
Ooh, different lifestyle, hipsters.
Art.
Art, graffiti, galleries, what else?
Bars.
Bars.
Salty donuts.
Gentrification.
Alright, so part of the idea of placemaking and place branding is images and the stereotypes I will deliver with it. Seattle. Seattle.
Space Needle.
Space Needle, what else?
Starbucks.
Starbucks. What else?
Amazon. And Brain.
Amazon, brain power, yeah. So different places, different exposure. Yeah? Davie, Florida.
Nova.
LSU.
Nova.
Keep that in mind. Okay, so what also you need to understand is different companies and different firms and their products are part of place branding. Remember our trip to Central Falls in the construction management class? And I actually have videos, so actually if you want to, you can watch these. Specific product type, specific product idea, 3-story townhomes with 3,500, 4,000 square foot with an elevator as a future aging component in there. Yeah? And an in-house double garage parking. Yeah? So it means you can 3 or 4 people can park there. And certain branding and price, base price I think was 380, 400,000 plus the different packs you have to pay for laundry, for the kitchen and the elevator, etc. Yeah? But it's a specific place associated with the values that company owned by one of our board members, Harry Posen, is developing over the years. Yeah? So the name of the folks running it turns into the brand of the product. Yeah? So if you say, hey, specific type of company, let's say Terry Stiles Construction, you immediately ring a bell, like ding, 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 you have a bunch of products and projects remembering of them. Like the 2 towers here, one plantation. There, Terry Stiles did that with his company. You know? So keep that in mind. Place making and place branding is a form somewhat of planning. Landscape architecture is place making in a broad way. I'm violating the planning literature here right now, but to give you that concept, if I have nothing in this room, and I put nice pictures on the wall and nice furniture in place, I would be called interior designer. But what I do is I create a place you call maybe living room. Small scale. What about the 200 or 300 units of rental apartments with the nice pool, nice clubhouse, great parking, great trees, close by the campus. This is part of your amenities as place making. Yeah? It's not container housing for everyone, like the dorms. No. With a certain rise in price, I give you the shine. Yeah? So keep that in mind. So at the end, whatever you do as real estate development, the placemaking part is not too undervalued. Sometimes it makes a difference between, you know, this is a nice mall, you can really hang out there, it's really nice to enjoy, versus, oh, this is just a big box, I need to go and buy some stuff. I never heard someone to say, I'm going to Target and hang out. No, you hear, oh, we have been at the mall all day. One anchor at the mall is Target, somewhere in the corner. You've been to Target for half an hour. But you're not saying, I'm going to Target to hang out there. No? Alright. We close at 4:30. Cool. So I post this here on as part of the slides. This gives you the idea how culture and then the culture in more global context actually creates like a circle and how it feeds into the level, different scales on site versus region, yeah, and therefore you also plan differently. What are the examples of of identity and culture when you talk about placemaking? What is a perfect example for a place that is identified by its culture?
New Orleans.
Good example, not the direction I wanted to go. Alright, New Orleans is a great example for its culture because of the Mardi Gras and other interesting corners there. What else? Come on guys, we have how many nations in this room?
What was the question again?
Why is culture important for placemaking? What is an example for where culture dominates placemaking?
The Vatican.
Hmm?
Vatican.
Oh, that is an I never had that. Okay, the Vatican as the culture of the Roman Catholic Church, placemaking that, fine. Mecca as the corresponding place as well. Yeah, perfect. Never had that. Places of worship, in an extreme case, the capital of worship. Okay, capital place of worship. What else?
Wait, maybe another example.
Alright, what's your favorite food?
Sushi.
Alright, let's not be a place for sushi besides a restaurant. It's a neighborhood with similar food?
Could it be food?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's give
like,
it.
like Chinatown.
Like Chinatown, yeah, exactly.
Soho.
So stereotyping and disenfranchising, discriminatory about Asian groups. Yes. But you're not saying I'm going to have dinner in an ethnic group's food restaurant in downtown San Francisco. No, you're heading out for dinner in Chinatown. Yeah.
Oh, so
Little
it's
India.
Little Haiti and
Little Ghana.
yeah.
Now, click. The culture and the identity of the people living there is branding the neighborhood and the place. We have Little Havana in Miami. Huh?
That can have a negative effect too, though, right?
Sure. What is an example over the past decades of 20, 40, 50 years of negative impact on how the place has changed? I have two examples. Can you come up with one?
Detroit.
Well, Detroit is a whole city, not a neighborhood. But yes, it changes. Changes again.
Still Anacostia in DC.
Detroit.
Anacostia is military based.
No, it's not.
Anacostia, I think that stigma of Anacostia, wasn't that, is that
No,
military
it's-
influence?
Like it's the ghetto within the ghetto. Oh my god, I mean,
Well, the Navy Yard is close by,
it's
isn't it?
close by, the Navy it's a joint military base, but it's not really, I used to work there, so
Yeah.
that's how I know. It's not really a military base, it's like an offshoot of a military base, but
Right.
you wouldn't know unless you worked there. But
Or you watch NCIS or
oh,
something. I know, just giving you
No,
a
but-
tease here.
and Anacostia, I mean, it was like, I mean, you couldn't go through there unless you're homeless and like high on heroin or something.
Alright.
But now
Perception,
they're
okay,
pushing
okay.
it out.
You're laughing on the other
Anacostia.
side.
Exactly.
You're laughing on the other side. But this is a personal perception and experience of one of your fellows. Yeah? I used to live in a town where I was told at 4 p.m. as a white person you shouldn't walk into this neighborhood because you might get mugged and shot.
Well, you would.
Yeah, because in 2001, 2002, police shot a kid in the back in the alley, and the city of Cincinnati in downtown had riots for weeks. Like really brutal stuff going on. And the neighborhood was called Over the Rhine. Yeah, and then you had all this decline of typically African American poor inner city neighborhood. And then you had homeless people as a problem. Then you had building blight and flight as boarded up buildings as a problem. Then developers picked up, slumlords picked up. They had housing developments coming in, supplemented with vouchers, etc., and redevelopment. It's a long story, a painful story to see. What happened in the last 5 to 10 years? Local farmers market really took off. Young people discovered, hey, it's a cheap place to live if it was rehabbed in a building. Ooh, gentrification, big buzzword. Happened, really. The $50 rent was now $500 rent, making up prices, but it happened. Cincinnati is an old German town with brewery history, so small microbreweries popped up. Huge breweries popped up. Sam Adams is actually brewed in Cincinnati. Boston company brewing in the Midwest, yeah, and then distributing this. Yeah. Then they rehabbed the parking lot in front of Music Hall, which turned into a wonderful open park. And the neighborhood I was born in 2006, that I will be personally hurt. Yeah. The neighborhood I want my family members for graduation, I think in the early 2010s-ish, not to walk alone around in that neighborhood, is now one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in the US, highlighted by the American Planning Association of its rehabilitation potential and how awesome they did the rehab. So you can change neighborhoods over time with good spirits. A lot of work was done with the City Development Corporation and governmental support, etc. Yeah, and foundation works. Yeah, but changed. The neighborhood I was originally thinking about, a few examples, but had a huge big stigma and turned into a very interesting component nowadays is Harlem. Columbia University just across the street, literally 120 and Holland.
Atlantic Avenue, is that right?
They changed over time. Neighborhoods can change to the positive and to the negative.
What's even happening down in Columbia, close to, oh my goodness, I forgot what it's
Yeah,
called.
that's
I
bad
was
as
just
drunk.
I
Yeah,
was
that
just
area.
down more.
Flatwood Village and.
So the question here is, this is coming. This is planning world thinking. The question here is, what is the engine and the power of change? Is it community-based grassroots organizations that say we need to do something, or is it one or two larger developments that actually put a somewhat shock to the system, and the system, lucky for us, revives in the way we want to do that? Yeah? So this comes back here to this kind of circle game where I talk about culture. Can you revive a place that has traditionally been called Chinatown and transform it into something else? Or do you actually say, no, I actually want to maintain that because it has this flair, it has this atmosphere? Because what we also do in planning and in real estate development, we are creating spaces and places. What's the shopping mall? The shopping mall is trying to create a felt value where you feel comfortable, you feel a little bit culture, yeah, to spend money. The longer you can hang out in the food court because it's really healthy and hip, you go back to the other shop and buy more. Keep in mind, a shopping mall is a hardcore experiment snow globe. where you have people coming in with purchasing power, magnet function, you want to guide them through and deal with them in a perfect way and literally milk them. I'm a big fan of IKEA. I love this place. It's a lifestyle center. You can get everything. Yeah? But they are tricking you the way they run you through all the showrooms and even through into the kitchen section. And the kitchen section always wins. I was there 2 weeks ago. I have 2 more knives. Yeah? And a new cutting board. I cook a lot. So. But it's perfect master planning. 30,000 pictures taken for each catalog every year.
But don't you agree that mall system, like outside retail in general, is going out of,
The retail apocalypse.
yeah, it's like totally gone now.
When was the last time you have been to Walt Disney?
Walt Disney World, probably last year.
Well, next time you go there, think about the site planning book and how you organize circulation of flow, patterns, and structure particular people.
Walt Disney is different than Town Center Mall, for example.
No, it's not. Same concepts here and there.
Right. I guess that it's an IKEA concept more than it is a retail concept.
Yeah, the retail concept is different, I think, also in terms of the threat to retail. And Fred Foggy will tell you stories about that. Because fun fact, he used to own a shopping center or hardware store. In retail, it's not just Amazon as a threat. I would argue the biggest threat to retail is the delay and lag time on your inventory. Because for me, it's easier to pull out the phone and run the app and order even toilet paper via Amazon than to walk to Costco or to the other store and then realize it's not on the shelf.
I think the other problem also is because people that work in retail don't make enough money, so they're not really nice to people.
Oh, that's the other part.
Like that affects
That's
you don't go anywhere like
no,
that.
that's the other. Let's think about this. For me, retail is 3D space. Next time you're in the shop, 2 examples for that: potato chips and toothpaste. Next time you walk into the shop, there's actually TS signs. You look actually where people look, and where would you look, depending on your body height, where would you look, and what kind of product you see at eye level, or down there, or to the far left or far right of the shelf. Look for potato chips. The $4 bag is right here.
The family size one, something.
Or for Triscuits. The fit family size Triscuits are down there. Yeah? But the rosemary and the dried sun-dried tomatoes are there. Yeah? It's more extreme in the toothpaste section. Folks with kids will understand. So if you walk into the retail space, and this is the same way of arguing how you align site plan for walking into a mall, walking into an apartment complex, or a luxury living resort. That's the gateway function. We actually have lectures on that. The toothpaste example is, you as the adult have your toothpaste here, high-end, super expensive, shiny ones there, other companies and the store brand down there. What's here?
My Little Pony.
My Little Pony in the frozen toothbrush. Because the 30-year-old adult is probably not going to, you're not going to use the frozen toothbrush. Yeah? There you go, there you go. No. You're buying the pink sparkling toothpaste. The consumer group that is just about that height is going to be exposed to that. Yeah? So that brings me back to real estate, culture. The 25-year-old graduate student in this room with barely no income will have a different living perspective and rental preference than the 35 or 40-year-old here in the house that has actually maybe a partner in life or 6 digits income because of their job. Different perspective. Rule of thumb, 30% of your income, housing. Yeah? If it's higher, you've got to make little assessments. Yes?
2 examples, what you said about planning. The reason the grocery stores have milk all the way in the back is because when you run in just for milk,
Yep.
You have to go all the way to the back and get, and while you're at it, you're gonna grab all that stuff you forgot you needed. The other thing is, with the biggest threat to grocery or retail, there's an app called Instacart. It's available through Publix, Whole Foods, and Costco. While we were on break between classes, I ordered groceries to be delivered. They're already delivered to my house. That's it. I didn't.
Yep.
I just
Enough
went
said.
grocery shopping.
All
They're done.
right. We gotta get a few things done and we can take a short break.
Yeah,
to
it
set
was
up.
best thing ever.
All right, this is darn important. This is darn important. Yeah? The 7 typical goals of site planning according to Lynch. Yeah? Because it is a comprehensive approach what actually deals with it. The functional adequacy deals with the specific function that what are we going to do actually with this design. Yeah? Are we going to have, let's say, baseball or kids playground or light settings in a development? A light plan, a rendering of how your development will look like at night is as important as showing traffic flow and impact. In certain areas of the country, you might actually want to include a bike locker. And say, hey, this is really cool because our 25-year-old tenants now we're going to use that. Bike locker as in bicycle. The thing you propel with your legs, not the Harley Davidson. Communication, communication, communication is the second point. I cannot stress that out. Is communication effective or even present? Talk about design causing the interaction. We have the problem between the social and the built environment, the privacy versus the neighborhoodliness. Is your backyard plain grass and the dog and all the kids can run down 4 houses without any barrier besides toys lying sitting on the ground? Or is your fence a chain link fence because you have a dog? Or is your fence a 6-foot privacy fence where nothing goes through, noise or visuals? You only hear maybe you hear your neighbors splashing in their pool, but you don't even see them. Why would you have a backyard then if you have 6-foot privacy fence and you have no joy in your own backyard? Yeah? Which was surprising for me. The typical homes here in the Davie area, plantation area, how little they actually have as personal private backyard. They have maybe shared, maintained areas, but not really a backyard, or big fences. I have colleagues that actually live down here, down the street. Their whole, Jesus, it's like 1/3 of this room is backyard. I was like, okay, you save time and cutting grass, but could use that space for something else because just a little bit of grass and dirt, don't use it. All right, choice. The choice to choose from things. The freedom of the user to choose, let's say, i.e. the maximum of the own habitat, facilities, the activities, all the neighbors. Is a huge piece. Yeah? Cost? Sure. Real estate development. We crunch the numbers, we deal with the cost. Nothing else to be added. Cost is an allocating device and therefore a criterion in its conflict with most objectives. That's a statement by Lynch. He's a site planner, not a real estate guy. Something we do underestimate is the health and the comfort, because the way you can build and plan, let's say just the alignment of a building, will impact health of people. Yeah? We're going to talk about irrigation, sanitation, and the structural safety, like public safety. A big buzzword here is places of fear, or spaces of fear. Perfect example is women's parking spots in parking garages. The sounds sexist, but it's absolutely needed. Yeah? And why would we dedicate spaces for family and women in parking garages?
Safety.
Safety, to undermine the ideas of assault. That's the reason why they are bright in light and close to exit or entry areas. Yeah? Safety. There is a reason why you have certain light minimum capacity on the campus. Yeah? I'm sometimes shocked where you have neighborhoods where there's absolutely no street lighting. Yeah? And I'm like, okay, how do you walk in this neighborhood? Well, I was told, we are in Florida, we don't walk. Yeah? But think about this. Next time you walk through a parking garage, where are the exit points? Where is light at night in this parking garage? Would you, as a man, be able actually to anticipate where fear of a woman will occur in that space? Classic example is, who is going to plan the women's bathroom or the men's bathroom on the team? You have an architectural team of 20 guys. They are building a public facility, and suddenly we have the women's bathroom. I don't want to ask how many people have been in the women's bathroom in their life. Yeah, guys. Oh. All right. I had a purpose. I had a kid with me. Yeah? But do you have intimate knowledge about how to plan a bathroom setting for women? No. You can learn the plan, you can do the execution on it, but the perfect execution of the women's bathroom space, this is more humorous now, is perfect execution of a women's bathroom space would be if you are the gender of a woman.
What if you
But
identify
gender neutral
as a,
bathrooms are emerging.
Yeah, let's keep it on these two categories. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine if there's gender identification for the purpose of the planning example. We just say women's space, because then I also have to include the family space, etc. So that's the reason why you guys actually, when you walk into the men's bathroom, actually have the, how do you call that hinge thing for the baby. Yeah, because all you guys can change diapers too. Yeah. Adaptability and image quality. Adaptability is the idea of how to reuse and adapt to space. How can you change space over time? We have in the real estate community, we have a new thing. It's called flex space. Yeah? Not really new, but it's branded as new. Like you have variable sizings of wall distances, so you can assign actually different sections in a larger warehouse for changing that into office space. The ultimate readaptability would be, what are you going to do with the kindergarten if your community is aging over 25 years? Can you change that to a public use? Can you change it into a library or assisted living to make the other extreme case? Yeah?
Would the freeways count for adaptability? How they expand the roads to add lanes and stuff? Would that be considered?
No, I would rather go, this is actually adapting to misplanning, because the capacity planning and transportation is a big interesting thing. Because they actually say if you add a lane, it's 10 years too late, and you actually should add 2, because the moment you add another lane, you add capacity, and boom, you're in full capacity already for the next move. So,
I think this one would be in the first one.
yeah, so readapt also means the function has changed, or it will change. Yeah? Best examples is with age of people, how you will change the spaces here. And then image quality, we're actually going to be more in depth on this. What's the space and the perception of the surroundings? Ana Costa, you had a very verbalized version on what kind of image that is. Yeah?
well, they cleaned it up, or cleaning it up. But it was mostly because flippers ran out of, space to, or rehabbers ran out of, areas to rehab in the nicer neighborhoods. So they started moving into the not so nice areas, kinda rehabbed it.
All right, what I'm going to do for the next hour is we're going to take a quick break because you guys are falling asleep.
Next hour.
Yeah, we have till 4:30.
Oh, this was so, yeah.
Till 4:30. I have a 5 o'clock appointment on my couch. It's called nap. Huh? So we're going to set up a plan. It takes about a few minutes, 3 to 5. So please stand up, wiggle around. It's like a 7th inning stretch of baseball. If you had the last half hour, 45 minutes, a moment where you dozed off, go and walk, get a beverage, water. Hydrate.
Same thing.
We're gonna use the Legos?
We are going to set up the Legos. Yeah.
Today I'm like,
There's a vending machine upstairs that we discovered this morning, right here.
I didn't know Einstein made. I never purchased a sandwich from Einstein.
That's what we're doing. No, I don't believe you were feedback. Feedback. Any info or anything?
What's the
Business
scheme?
provide?
What's the scheme you're looking at?
Scale as far as.
How would you
Can you do a little more specific?
what kind of scale up the size of the community you want to have? Because everyone's like, yeah, check out Fort Lauderdale. I would actually check see the plantation in the city.
Oh, yeah.
Cocoa City.
Okay.
Even the city of Weston or something. I would check out a city that actually has developed a better, more than just a highway street.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Like, make them tell them that, hey, I'm looking for this, you have some development going on. Would look at communities that actually have transactions and business or go in a community that has certain income levels where I'm interested to work in jobs.
I figured I would just.
Well,
I'm pretty sure they will accept you as an intern. Actually, that's it. You need to have some planning on this.
oh, really?
Yeah, like these two, some law, background, and stuff like this. You can cover that, you can ask the officer to check. Questions how much we pay, really.
So I figured this.
You don't want it? Sounds like planning internships, I've seen history. If they pay, thank you to one. And the rest.
Someone else, yeah, I know.
I would, depending on which character of the city, because the segmentation doesn't have to be high rises. Or Western is more on the beach. No idea for check out. I would ask the bank to come in, place you live in.
That's downtown for a while.
No, nothing wrong with writing more than just one application.
Oh, right.
Different plan.
It's different things. It's a little more complex, maybe.
Yeah, I would check the smaller cities. I was surprised with the size of the location of the city hall. or city began. Little tiny things.
Oh, it's very small.
All right, let's do this. Gotta do some fun stuff here at the end of a long day, you know? So I want to do this in a different way than actually the handbook proposes. I want to show you a quick video so you guys get exposed to what does this actually mean with the impact. This is actually a picture taken from other classmates, work of other classmates. So this was in this room. What we're going to do is I want to give an introduction to urban plan. What does this entail? Then we're setting up the 3 teams. And what I'm going to think is probably the most brutal and the most fairest way is I just go down the list and say group 1, group 2, group 3. We could do it complicated, take all names, random numbers, and align them. But I think the way the list is right now, just get it in my hands. If I look at the list right now, if I mark up 5, 5, and 6, I have newbies and senior students in the mix. So senior students are interesting in terms of the financial components and the judgment calls. So we might actually do that. Yeah? And what I want to do for the remainder of this class, I try to cut at 4:30, if not a minute or two early, so we can clean up the mess here. I understand this is going to be a long day. I also understand you are leaving this place with, he was talking so much. That is changing. GL's class, maybe not so much, but in the afternoon it's going to be more and more relaxed and teamwork. Yeah? And teamwork also means you can stand up, sit, stand up, it's more interactive for your bodies. Yeah? If I look at my dear Diego, he's like, oh, let me get out of here. You're suffering today. All right, no more partying on Friday nights going out. I know you have been traveling this week. Yeah? But I have to say I'm more awake right now than this morning at 7:45. Personal comment here. Yeah? So what is urban plan? Urban plan is about Legos, is it? Yeah? There's actually way more behind that. Let's take a look at this. Yeah? So again, this is what we're going to do for the next 6-8 weeks. We're going to play with blue glow blocks produced by the company Lego. That is also famous for their Lego blocks. You can see on the picture, there are actually, this is a Lego plate, and then you have the blue glow blocks. I differentiate between them because you can do different skills and fun with them. Yeah? Just to give you an idea, this is what you are going to look like in about a week, 2 weeks. Yeah? You're not going to play with them anymore. You're actually going to put them on a mat to scale for the blocks. Now these are basically the base plates. You can push them on. I have 3 wonderful brand new posters for this. This is a discussion, picture doesn't keep it. This is a heated discussion between fellow student taking a picture. That's Ben. Yeah, that's Noah. Andrea, so you might have had classes with them already or not, but they are really discussing if we move this block, that's the supermarket, yeah, Quickie Mark, Q Mark or something. Quickie Mark. If we move that block somewhere else, what's the impact on the financial spreadsheet? And they did that for 20 minutes, half an hour, having a discussion. Yeah? The other picture, and this is the reason why I came back with this example. Let's show this. Yeah? Different group settings, different dynamics in the group, pushing things around, arguing, yeah? Constructively arguing. Look at this. Bunch of model and heavy crunching numbers on the computers. Yeah? I strongly recommend that handbook, Stadler, if you're choosing roles next week, we gotta have this down. Site planner needs to know exactly what is allowed and what not. City liaison needs to know exactly what the city wants and what they don't want. Yeah? And the handbook gives you these setups, step by step. Yeah, so Jason, really in depth here, crunching the numbers. And this is another setup again with first folks. And you can see at the bottom right, there's also a movement then from taking pictures of how you place those blocks and taking notes of which street block had which configuration towards actually taking letter-sized printouts and scribbling notes and color codes on it. Because every Saturday when you do group work, you gotta rework what you have done in the past, like remember and document. Taking notes, delegating who is responsible for which block or the whole layout. Yeah? And again, communication. You gotta communicate with your teammates during the week. You will have to have at least one meeting in the last week with your teammates to figure out how things are going for the report. At least one or two. So the last 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of October. First 2 weeks of October, it's a little bit crunch time. So plan for this already. Block that time. Say that one Tuesday night, we all gotta make it. Or the Sunday afternoon for 2 hours. Yeah? So instead of intensive reading, in a doctoral seminar, this is the reading for 1 week. Maybe 2. I had a 12-week seminar with 150 pages every week to read and prepare. Yeah? One seminar. So this is light. One reason for that is because the teamwork will take some time for prep. And I want you to read this, take notes, and think about it. Because the more time you think about this, like between the lines, how important that is from a landscape architectural point into your real estate education, it triggers critical thinking about your next step in your life and in your class. It opens up more creativity and constructive criticism. And that's the learning outcome. All right, that's the plan. We're doing the video now.
ULI has always been about nurturing tomorrow's leaders, the emerging leaders, the future leaders of the industry, the future leaders of our communities. And starting with the high schools with the urban plan curriculum is an amazing foundational component of that.
It teaches and brings to life core fundamental values, things like supply and demand, trade-offs. And so it really becomes a way of bringing to life activities that the students are learning about in the class.
The program really provides students an opportunity to take what's theoretical and often abstract and really make it meaningful and real and tangible, so they can really apply the principles that they've been learning.
I love everything that it does for kids, from actually teaching them core economic concepts that are really important, like opportunity cost, trade-offs, all those kinds of things. It also teaches them how to work in groups. It teaches them, how to deal with personalities that may not be similar to your own. It tells them how to,
This is 100% valid for grad school too, not just for high school kids. How to be comfortable with your communication with your teammates, and how to learn how to accept other people's opinions in a team setting. And you will be surprised, grown adults like you all are, how sometimes they're really nice to each other. They killed them.
And also, Professor, my school, it's the K-8 school.
Find it. Accessibility.
Yeah. We had her.
Concepts that are really important, like opportunity cost, trade-offs, all those kinds of things. It also teaches them how to work in groups. It teaches them, you know, how to deal with personalities that may not be similar to your own. It tells them how to, you know, it teaches them how to problem solve, how to be professional, how to present something to a group of people that you may not know or may not be comfortable with. It's the best job interview experience you'll ever have. Before you actually have to go do a job interview, it's a great experience.
The idea of being able to work with high school students who were learning economics struck me as a great opportunity to be able to give back to the community and share the experience that I gained with the next generation of leaders.
And to really challenge them as a facilitator to some of the assumptions that they make. Most of them have this kind of an aha experience where they sit there and you ask them questions that they haven't really thought about. And then they start to think about it and they go, wow, I hadn't really thought about that. And so it's given them a perspective on the development process that they've never even really thought about before.
The facilitators were extremely helpful. It was interesting to see the things that they would say because they're all specialized in different aspects. So like, for example, we had one person who was extremely focused on the aspect of what you see when you look out of a business window, as opposed to another person was all about like accessibility.
You start to think outside the box. You see things where you wouldn't have seen them before. You start to drive down streets, you see urban planning on the streets, you start to think about the new options that are there.
The entire program that these students go through culminates into a presentation that's given to a fictitious city council that's chaired by volunteers of the program. These students get up there and they pitch their redevelopment project.
To work with that sort of a team, create your own dynamic, collaborative spirit amongst you, and have that competitive spirit too, to we're going to win this project. The city council is going to vote yes for our project and our proposal for urban plan. So being able to present and public speak in front of the city council and convey and articulate your message and essentially sell your project, that would be an invaluable experience before you go into college and even into your careers.
City Council is my favorite day because that's the day that you get to see the end product for what these kids have been working on. You see the pride behind it. You see the competition and that competitive fire in them that they want to win. You walk into the room and there's a bunch of nervous students. Sometimes they're gathered and they're huddling, and that's very much like the beginning of any city council meeting. Then they do their presentations. They're very, very good at thinking on their feet. We ask them hard questions on the city council, and you can always tell the group that gels well together by how well they team up to answer the questions. And that's why urban plan is so cool, is because it becomes a thing that the students hear about, want to participate in, and it's a real world experience that translates immediately in their experience into their real life.
I thought that most of the plans would look very similar. Every one of them is completely different from the other. And they all are very good, each and of themselves. And so they all just have addressed these different interests in different ways, which has shown me that there's more than one way to be able to do this, and there's no one right answer. And for them to be able to justify why they did what they did is great, and to know that they've thought through this on their own.
You know why Arizona is the only district council in the system that has one interesting piece to the urban plan program that we do, and that is a site tour. The winning teams from urban plan are brought to an actual mixed-use development downtown Phoenix. It's an on-the-ground, boots on the ground, moment for these kids after they've gone through the whole urban plan curriculum in their schools to actually stand in the middle of a mixed-use project. We started our day at RED Development, and they got to go up and sit in the conference rooms, and RED Development walked them through kind of how they developed this whole plan and sort of walked through the different roles that the kids actually take on too, and what this looked like and the different phases of planning that they had to go through, just very similar to what the kids have to do. And after that, it's really cool because we get to go on a walking tour and we get to go see some of the very same types of buildings that the kids had to think about building in their plans. So one of those was 44th and Monroe, which is really cool, and the kids
love this because they get to go all the way up to the penthouse. And for most of them who are suburbanites, they don't ever really get to see high-rise buildings. So going up into the penthouse was awesome. They get to see what that looks like. It's also pretty cool because at that particular location, you can see a YMCA from the building, and that's one of the things they have to think about in their plan. You can also see the remains of what used to be a homeless shelter in that area, and so that again ties back into their own plans. Just all around a super cool experience for them to connect back to, this is real life. It's very similar to what you just did in your project. And I think any of the kids that went on that, it really brought it around and connected all those dots for them to be like, okay, I get it.
I think Urban Plan is loved by the students because it is so different, because it is so in-depth. It is real-world practice that these students are getting. It's diverse, it's hands-on, it's interactive, it's interaction with professionals in an industry, and it's real. It's so much like reality. It is reality. We're going through a real-life process, and students are working in that process from beginning to end. It requires a lot of thought and creativeness. It requires diversity, and I think their expectations at the beginning are changed by the end, and to a large degree, they're changed people.
When I was in high school, most of the learning was fairly traditional classroom work. We didn't do any project-based learning where you had to work in a team and really learn the dynamics of working in a team environment. You quickly learn in college, and then when you get into your career, that so much of what you do is project-based. And I think the ability for students to be exposed to project-based learning in high school will give them a real advantage as they move on to the college level and ultimately into their career.
You know, in my high school, vocational training was shop, right? You went and you worked on cars, or you did wood shop or whatever. This is vocational training, or at least enough of it to be meaningful that's at a whole different level. And I think it satisfies the intellect of very smart and curious young people.
I bet that they all leave school and they look around and they look at the communities that they live in, and they have a better understanding of the dynamics of the interplay of all the uses. They look at the shopping centers differently and how those contribute to the cities. They probably view all their municipal governments differently and how they provide amenities and services and planning in general.
I feel like I would be more involved with my community now. I understand how important it is to state my opinions, especially to, say, a city council or somebody who has more power within to do something that I want to be seen, that I want to see done. And I feel like I understand the importance of speaking up for what I feel would be best for my city as well.
I would definitely recommend this class to another student because it really does teach you how to take what you learn and put it into practice. Instead of just taking a test here, you have to give a presentation to a city council and prove that not only do you know your stuff, but the stuff that you have is better than anybody else's. So if you're into competitions and if you're really into applying what you learned, this is a great class for you.
It opens kids' eyes to see that there's all of these careers that they may not even be aware exist. And if I would have had it in high school, I think it just opens doors. It opens doors to marketing, architecture, finance. It opens so many doors. I wish I would have had an experience like this.
Whether or not their career happens to be in real estate or development or land use, maybe it's in finance, maybe it's in medical, it won't even matter, but they'll have a better understanding about how the community and the world around them is created and developed.
Please know this is actually a really cool tool developed and promoted by the Urban Land Institute. So it's not just like some urban planning professor had a little bit too much to drink over the weekend and came out with Legos and his friends in high school and all that. No, they really put this as an educational concept out, promoting it nationwide through the chapters.
Question.
Yes, please.
Is it, where can I find out which schools it's available? And I have 2 high schoolers that would eat this stuff.
It's actually actually, I think, discontinued. I'm not
God
sure.
damn it.
It was such a great idea.
I'm not sure. But ULI is very strong here, and we happen to have our board members are all ULI members. So I don't know if it's actually still used, if it was ever used in any of the high schools in this area here. Yeah. I got exposed to urban plan when I came here as a real estate professor. I used to teach urban plan, so at a graduate level. So different ideas, different influences. The example here came from Arizona. So
I used to live in Arizona. Recognizing a lot of.
So what we're going to do is, I have 3 plans. So we're going to do 3 groups. 16 students, and I just pulled the pen on the page. Here's my proposal. If I look at the class list right now, I'm going through this alphabetically. I have 1 or 2 senior members of a little bit of experience in the bank, in the real estate program. I would like to form 3 groups just going down by the alphabet. That would mean group number 1 would be Ellen, Kathleen, Fallon, Danilo, and Carlos. Feel comfortable with that based on my first impression with you guys. Yes?
Oh, we're not getting together?
Yes. Group number 1, identify
You don't wanna go
yourself,
home
team up. Yeah, find some spot. You need at least 1 table. Best would be 2 of the short tables, thin tables together.
Is this group for that project or the whole class?
For the whole class. This is team 1. Ever. Be friends. Trade contacts, emails, phones. One of the parts today is we're going to sit. Listen up, this is important. What we're going to do is we set up the teams. We're going to play a little bit with the blocks. We build blocks based on the handbook. Buildings based on the handbook. Until next week. Your team needs to have communication and figuring out it's on the schedule. Until next week, the 9th actually, the 9th. Teams need to start drafting a vision, and until next week I would like to see who's doing what role in that team.
By next week?
By next week, so it gives you about a good week time to get the flavors of the role play and to make a decision within the team who is who. Yes.
Can we know the responsibilities of each role before we decide?
In the handbook. Pages 47 till 57. Yeah?
There's like 5 different.
Students handbook on Blackboard. Did you write me about access issues in Blackboard?
I did.
You did.
I was working with.
Alright, we can solve this.
Now it's
Alright. Team number 2. I would like to see Dara, Eduardo, Evan, Robert, and Katarina together. I think this is going to be an interesting mix. Katarina? Yeah. Evan, Robert. All right. Team 2. Alright, here's the third team. The third team, there are 5 roles in these teams. The director of marketing, the site planner, city liaison, neighborhood liaison, and the financial analyst. The third team will have a supervising all trades teammate. Yeah? So you can share and do redundancy in this. I'm sorry, I could cut it in 4 teams with 4 people, but the challenge I think is actually more the 4-people team than a 6-people team. I will reconcile that for the grading, because someone could argue, oh, they had 1 more team member, it's so easy for them. No. The reminders would be Luis, Cash, Marielle, Diego, Paul, and Frank. Hi, find a table, team up with your teammates. Huh?
Has anyone looked over that?
Want to take this table? Sure.
Can we say 47?
So this is the plan? Here's the plan.
Director, Mark, that's for you. I think it's thrown out, right?
Someone will take name, emails.
Site planner.
Yeah, just write it on one page like this.
City liaison.
Take pictures of it.
Neighborhood
Does everybody have one back? That's usually the last one.
Gotta have some cost, huh?
What's your name? That's my major, undergrad.
And your name?
How do you spell it?
Alright.
We're all helping out.
Paul,
Yeah, I can manage.
702-666.
Okay.
Unless you guys vote for it.
I was thinking about.
Oh, you can take it.
But.
You want to phone the WhatsApp?
You can take it.
There's like.
Yeah, phone the WhatsApp for everyone, and now everyone's number will be, everyone's number.
City.
Yeah, and then he has.
Okay.
And everyone's number. Sorry, is that a number?
Sorry.
702.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I just printed it out.
Let me just
I just punched the holes.
That might.
I just didn't put it in my thing. So, over who's left, you guys?
Yeah, I'm trying to finish.
Neighborhood.
I'm trying to finish in one year.
Your site planner?
No,
Are you marketing?
over now.
There we go. Oh, those are yeah, I got it wrong the first time.
So, few things we need to discover today. Yeah? One very important thing is the project checklist on page 9. And then the RFP on page 13 in your student handbook. This is the breakdown here, table of contents. The RFP is what the city in the setup is giving you, and you have to develop a proposal. Again, the mindset is you are a redevelopment team, you're a company, for-profit company. And over the course of the next few weeks,